The American working class has been subjected to a multitude of struggles throughout history. From poor working conditions to fluctuations in job security, one could easily conclude that nothing came easy to the working class. Experiencing these hardships has resulted in developing aspirations and values, otherwise known as the American dream. The American dream, from the perspective of the working class, revolves around aspirations to attain the same level of prosperity as the upper classes in American society. Before understanding the dreams and aspirations of the working class, it is imperative to understand who they are. The working class would include all whites with less than a 4-year college degree. This includes all whites without a professional or manager level job. That is, all whites with manual service or low-level white-collar occupations. The working class includes Americans with household incomes below $60,000. The New Deal and World War II. Despite the struggles that America's economy underwent during the Great Depression, morale shifted as FDR introduced a new optimistic approach to repairing the economy. Throughout the nation, working-class citizens gained a new hope as jobs increased and labor unions gained power. New projects in infrastructure increased, like highways, buildings, and other public facilities, and manufacturing boomed due to the Second World War and the Lend-Lease Act, which increased the need for manufacturing of weapons. The working class felt that they had rebuilt the economy throughout World War II by means of partaking in the war effort, while the upper class made bank on their efforts. Because of this, social tensions further increased between the upper and the working class.
Now listen to me, everybody. Step out in front. Get back at the president and give a man a job. You know he bought a front. You know that. I know it. So step out and give a man a job. You know who's in back of this in the NRA? No? Well, I'll tell you. And when I do, it'll give you heart of trouble. You take this message straight from the president and give a man a job.
Working class people felt entitled to a job more so than ever. Despite this, the working class was still mistreated and experienced little to no social mobility.
Bill Turner took a cut of $15. No more overtime. Take-home pay was cut, but the rent wasn't. When Bill walked on the picket line the morning of January 15th, he was fighting for the decent standard of living that Roosevelt had pledged in the Economic Bill of Rights.
Soon, labor unions began to gain power in American society. However, this was seen as a threat because of the communistic principles that are associated with labor unions. During this time, tension between the US and the Soviet Union was increasing. To combat the influence of communism on American society, the government created the Taft-Hartley Act in 1947, which greatly reduced the power and the rights of labor unions and working-class citizens.
Mr. Hartley, since you are half of the Taft-Hartley Act, I imagine that most of our viewers are either for or against you rather vigorously. So we're delighted to have you again, sir. Now, first of all, are the labor organizations still fighting the Taft-Hartley Act as bitterly as they have for 6 years?
No, I don't believe they're fighting it quite as bitterly as they have for the past 4 or 5 years. As you may know, most of the labor leaders who heretofore have been talking in terms of repeal of the law now talk in terms of modification.
Well, why, sir, have they been so opposed to the law since its enactment?
Well, the labor leaders have been opposed to the law primarily because it is true that we have curbed their authority to, shall I use the term, throw their weight around.
The working class was greatly angered by this act. This added grievance reduced the power of the working class and the ability to achieve their American dream. The working class was especially angered that their rights were being taken away from them by the upper class of America due to the fear of communistic ideology in the U.S. The Civil Rights Movement. The Civil Rights Movement not only inspired desegregation and equal opportunities for African Americans, but also created the means for African Americans to integrate into the American working class. Certain policies, such as the Civil Rights Act and affirmative action, aided in leveling the playing field between races, allowing African Americans to receive more job opportunities and thus moving up in the socioeconomic ladder along with the rest of the working class. However, this meant a decrease in job availability for the white working class, because many of the jobs that would have initially gone to the white working class would now go to the black members of the working class. This manifested more racial tension and prejudice among the people of the working class. The Vietnam War. As America moved into the Vietnam War, recruitment via propaganda was spread throughout the nation. However, the majority of troops that partook in the war were overwhelmingly and disproportionately from the working class. This was in large part due to student deferments and technical deferrals, draft board issues, and connections that reduced the amount of middle and upper class people to be enlisted into the army. Yet the working class individuals themselves did not exactly approve of the war. In fact, the working class opposition was often a representation of class conflict, not conflict over the legitimacy of the war. The tensions present between the classes were stronger than ever before. The working class was very angry at the wealthier classes, not because of their position of the war, but their lack of care for their nation. As one firefighter states, "It is people like us who give up our sons for the country. The business people, they run the country and make money from it. But their sons, they don't end up in swamps over there in Vietnam." Let's face it, if you have a lot of money or you have the right connections, you don't end up on a firing line in the jungle over there. Not unless you want to. I hate those peace demonstrators. Why don't they go to Vietnam and demonstrate in front of the North Vietnamese? The working class wasn't upset that people were protesting the war. They were upset because that's all they did. The working class today. The working class throughout history felt greatly disregarded by the rest of society. The upper class stepped all over them, and the middle class activist groups failed to fight for the rights of the white working class. On top of that, they felt that their jobs were being given away to immigrants at a cheaper price. In comes the Republican candidate, Donald Trump. For the first time in a long time, the working class felt their issues were being addressed by a presidential candidate. Trump advocated the creation of jobs in America by moving factories from Asia into America and increasing infrastructure projects in poorer areas. The massive job increase would greatly impact the working class, and thus the working class loved Trump. Also, Trump fought for the reduction of immigrants, especially from Mexico. Regardless of morality, the working class hated immigration because that meant fewer job opportunities for them. Working class felt that the American dream had been compromised throughout the late 1900s into the early 2000s.
Sadly, the American dream is dead. I am officially running for President of the United States, and we are going to make our country great again. Working together, we will begin the urgent task of rebuilding our nation and renewing the American dream.
There is no hope for the working class, not in today's economy. The working class views Trump as a savior of their American dream. Overall, the constant tension between the working class and the upper class for prosperity and equal opportunities are clearly shown in the history of the United States. The working class felt that the upper classes were not doing enough to support them, financially and socially. The ignorance of the upper classes to the working class played a major role in the history of the working class in the United States.